I was approached by a couple of women in a cult at different times, and the upshoot of it was that I ended up being brainwashed into a destructive cult called JMS. The leader currently is on trial, or he's awaiting the conviction. He's a serial rapist, previously convicted, and we're hoping to put him in jail forever. But I was in that cult for nearly 2 years. And I nearly lost my life in that cult. And the way I escaped was I ended up in hospital and was professionally deprogrammed. So lucky to be alive. But yeah, definitely worth listening to that episode if you're curious.
Yeah, definitely. And also to add to that description, you were specifically chosen to be one of thousands of spiritual brides for the leader. And that was another way. That's another way that they made you feel really special and chosen and, angelic, I guess you could call it. You're supposed to be. Another thing we didn't mention, I don't think, is that the leader thinks that he is, or at least he tells people that he is Jesus returned. So he is the Messiah. So if you're chosen to become one of his brides, you basically live a life like a nun, and you are to only be with him. You are married to the Messiah. So it's very twisted, and it gets really uncomfortable and hard to listen to all these women's stories who talk about the abuses in the name of God. And there are documentaries. We'll put them in the description box if you want to also read more, watch more about this cult, you can, and then obviously watch our other episode. So we had to bring that in because the next part of your story is, once you're out of the cult, where do you turn to now that you have this huge spiritual void?
Yeah, so I came out of this cult like very unwell. I was emaciated. I was very weak, I was fragile, and I had just lost, my entire belief system. I had the thing that I believed in so strongly, that I'd been brainwashed to believe, that I based my entire life around, that I would have died for, kind of crumble. And that was a really hard thing to contend with on its own. And I spent the next year or so almost in a state of shock, I think, because, I think because, I hadn't had time to sort of slowly leave, to start questioning and then to work my way out. This was a deprogramming. It was done in 3 days, and everything crumbled in 3 days. And so I remember I don't remember a lot of the first year because I spent a lot of it pretty dissociated. I remember sort of going into a room and kind of just standing there and zoning out. And then, 2 hours later, I'd be like, where did that time go? Wow. I was really, really not well. And I was quite suicidal at that time as well, because I had lost everything and I didn't come out with anything, and they'd made me stop studying. And so I had no degree, no money, nothing. I didn't even have my health. I had osteoporosis and I was emaciated. So I didn't have friends. All the friends and family that I had, I was told to cut off. And I remember when I got out of hospital and was deprogrammed, the friends that I had in the church knew that I had come out of hospital, and that I was very unwell, and that I'd come out of the cult. But the church that I was previously with and those friends that I'd had for my whole life did not reach out to me, didn't extend any kind of care or love. I think it was kind of once I had left them for another church, that was sort of it. And I didn't deserve, any follow-up or any attention after that. So it might have been that they didn't fully understand what I'd gone through. It might have been that they didn't know what to say, or how to address what had happened. But that was incredibly painful, having the friends that I'd had my entire life not even bother to check if I was okay. Yeah. When I'd nearly died. So in the context of that meant that I really felt I had nothing. And I remember sort of thinking, and it was excruciatingly painful and lonely. And I remember having a moment thinking, if the thing that I believed in so strongly this cult, this man, this doctrine, I believed in that with my entire life and with everything that I had. And so if that could have been false, if I could have been so convinced it was true, but it wasn't, what if none of it's true? What if God isn't real? Or what if the religion that I grew up in is false as well? And I had that thought, and then immediately I was like, can't cope with that. I cannot cope with not only losing. It's too much. It's too much all at once. And I remember thinking very clearly, like, if I lost my faith in God and everything that I've grown up with, then I don't know how to live. I don't know if I want to live anymore. Like, it was too hard. I couldn't let go of it.
Yeah.
And I also needed some kind of sense that there would be, I don't know, like some kind of healing or atonement, or that this was all part of a bigger mission, or, that sense that I really needed some kind of belief in some sort of direction or redemption of what I'd just gone through. And if I decided to let go of my faith entirely, then there was none of that for me.
Right.
It was all up to me. And I'd never thought like that once in my life. It was always God's story, God's plan. And so I chose to cling to my belief in God, and I clung to it with literally everything I had, to the point that I was like, okay, I need to go to Bible college. So I took a year off to heal and try and recover and learn. And then I went to Bible college. So I moved to Sydney and went to a mega church Bible college up there. And as I said in the last interview, I would not recommend it to anyone. It was a terrible decision, but it's the best one I knew how to make at the time, which was to cling to God again. To try everything to sort of get close to God and to heal myself. And I didn't know any direction to run to except towards God.
So at that point, did you continue to cling to Pentecostalism, or were you kind of, shopping around other Christian denominations?
Pentecostalism, I think it felt sort of safer to go back to what I knew, which was Pentecostalism. That said, it never really was the safest of spaces for me, but again, I didn't know any different. I certainly didn't want to try anything new. I just wanted, familiarity and care, and for someone to maybe listen to me and to sort of help me heal, help me understand what had happened to me. And all I knew was to get that through the church community. I had tried to go to therapists as well, but none of them really got what I was going through, or understood what that kind of coercion looked like and what that kind of religious abuse looked like. So yeah, going to Bible college, Pentecostal, it was what I knew. And I think it was important for me to go, though I would never do it again. It was really important for me to go because I was able to realize, especially after having come out of a cult and then being deprogrammed, studied what cult dynamics look like and what coercion looks like, and then work with Rick Ross a couple of times to also deprogram people. And just being exposed to all of that meant that when I went to Bible college, I went for healing, but I couldn't help but see those same dynamics of coercion, manipulation, and, harm being perpetrated in the Christian church as well.